Alright, welcome back people. This is the final part, putting in the case binding or floating hinge or whatever you want to call it. So if I zoom in a little, sorry, the camera is going to shake because the mount isn't particularly strong. First things first, it's not strictly necessary, but it does make a nice decorative finish, is to put some either muslin or cheesecloth or on the outside. Back in the day, bookbinding days, these wouldn't be, your signatures would just all be slip stitched together. They used to put some mull, which is like an oil, some very strong calico over it, just to provide strength for the signatures. As journal makers, we already sew them to something. This is book cloth that I've made and painted the same as the cover, which I've stitched my signatures to. I will just say, I do more signatures, maybe an extra sort of 15 or so sheets of paper, 14 sheets of paper to make up what I like inside, but they are closer together. So my signatures are, I've got 7 signatures spread over 2 inches as opposed to 5 signatures. I find that for me, that works better rather than having 2 or 3 big chunky ones, which then stand the risk of pulling, just being too heavy and making this come down. That's what I found happened with mine. Give it a go, see what happens. But for me, it didn't work. I do add loads of book pages, you know, into mine, and maybe that was what the problem was. The other thing I wanted to say was, muslin over here is quite expensive, or cheesecloth, or whatever you want to call it. This was sent to me. I had it as part of a swap with Crafty Irina, and she sent some over. What I have been using is this stuff. I robbed it out the first aid box in the kitchen. It's lint. I've never used it as a part of a first aid, and it does exactly the same thing. There's not a lot of difference. Well, I can't really tell a difference. Maybe there's a bit of a closer weave on the lint, but so here in the UK, if it's cheaper, that's the option I go for if it's the same. So I use lint as opposed to cheesecloth. They are the same. What you need to do then, if you're going to put this on, because, oh, excuse me, is I've cut a piece. I've made a template the size of my spine. I've just cut a piece of card the same width as my spine, or maybe just a fraction shorter. Oops, no, that fits. And I've used it to cut a piece of, for me, lint. Now, it's just sticking it on with Fabri-Tac. Yes, I know, I am getting to grips with this stuff, but oh boy, it does take some getting used to. So, now for the boring bits, and bless you all, the ones that said, oh, you're not boring. Oh yeah. You do need to get a fair bit on. People say, oh, you've got to get it in the stitching, in the holes, blah, blah, blah. That used to be the case for bookbinding, when you had to sort of and to be fair, bookbinders only use PVA glue. They would get it in, they would try and get it in the holes to stabilise, well, they do try and get it in the holes to stabilise the pages. This is more decorative. As far as I can see, it doesn't actually serve a purpose. As I said, not very good at talking and actually doing. So Right, I've cut this the width of my spine, sort of. Now if it is a bit wider, just flip it over. Fabric does stick everything, including my fingers. And pat it on. If you want the bits, frayed bits at the top, leave it as is. I like to have a bit of a turnover, so I like that bit. So that's me and my neat freak bit, I'm afraid. And then same at the bottom. I just like to have, I like it to show, but I just like it. So what you end up with is, one day I will get the hang of videoing. That one at the top and that one at the bottom. Now that needs to dry. Oh, excuse me. I have my trusty big book of needlecraft, and I just tend to, I don't know if you can see that, it just sort of hangs over the edge. Where are we? There. So it hangs over the edge, and you do need that to dry, otherwise by the time you come to put it in the centre it's going to stick. And the whole idea of this spine is so that it floats. Right, I will leave that to dry and I will be back in a mo. Right, this is now dried off. It doesn't take very long. The one thing I did forget to say was try coaxing it into a rounded shape as it's drying. So, you know, sort of push your centre signatures in gently, obviously. So you get it into a rounded shape. It just, you might not need to do it, I suppose. It depends what you've sewn your signatures onto. This is fairly thick, this stuff, so it helps just to sort of coax it. Right, that's that. Marking out the centre. Now I've watched various ladies do this. Like I say, I've made a template of the inside of my spine. And I've watched people use paper clips to put them on. I've watched people mark them out, and I'm thinking paper clips are fine if you don't have a delicate spine. I found that, especially on my paper ones, paper clips mark the spine. So I use magic tape. Sorry, I should say I've actually creased down the centre so I can see where the centre is. Because I found, and if I put it either side of the score mark, that this stuff is brilliant. I can tear it with my fingers, and I'm not constantly looking for a pair of scissors. So I'm pressing it down just to make sure I've got it smack on in the middle. Like I say, just put it to one side of your score mark so you can still see the centre. And I've just taped it to the outside. Now I do use this magic tape for everything because it doesn't mark. Right, I cheat for the first one because it's instant grab, so I use score tape, or Sukwang, I think it's called. Okay. Right, I put it right up to the edge of the front board and the same on the back. What I don't get in with the tape, I get with the glue after. So front and back. It has been fascinating, I have to say, learning about this. That hasn't quite gone to the edge. That's better. There are so many different ways of doing this, and I'm sure as you go along you will find ways which are better for you. I know I certainly have. It's been a learning curve. Right. Yeah, I've also put them in upside down, so I'm just checking. So front cover, front page, right. The trick is to try and find, I'm all fingers and thumbs at the moment. Now I like having an odd number of signatures, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth one is my middle one, and I'm just trying to line it up. Please don't be put off by my my cack-handedness. And that one, so that's my fourth signature, and I reckon that's pretty much lined up in the centre. The other way to tell is have a look at these two end ones, if I can get the trim out of the way. So that one and that one, do they look relatively equal? That's my printer deciding it's had enough for the day. See that? That's off. That one is much further down in the spine than that one. And yes, as I said, I have to admit I do a lot of this by eye now because it annoys the hell out of me sometimes, trying to get these sorted. Now that to me, oh, if you can see, looks about equal. And if it's not, I shall switch the camera off, shout at myself, and do it again. There is a lot of that going on. Oh, that's the other thing. There's so much to remember. Just remember to push it down. Okay. Right. Once you've made your decision, the other way of telling, of course, is to have a look. Does that front page look as high or as low as that back page? And actually, that doesn't. Right. Okay. We're going for it. So I grab hold of these, keeping it in place. Peel that one off. Because once you've got the first one on, then hopefully the second one will be a lot easier. Especially if you burnished your score tape first. I hope this is showing up. Oops, bit of fluff. Right, let's have a look. Okay, that one looks okay. And that one looks okay. Way. And then the idea is undo your two tapes, release the spine a bit, pull that out. Right, now for the awkward bit. Well, maybe not. You can put score tape obviously all along, and then you would have to commit yourself. I find that I've got it wrong so many times that I only put the one piece on because that's easy to rip off without marking. And I then just go in and add glue. Mind you, I will admit to having glued everything and then deciding it was no good. And then you just ribbon this piece down. Like I say, you will find your own way of doing things which will make it easier. I've seen people paperclip them, the spine to the outside, but it makes a mess. That's my only, if you've got a delicate spine, it will mark it. I will say that much. Right, that bit is not glued down enough for my liking. It looks like I'm making a mess, but this bit will be covered up with your own papers anyway. That's that one. And you repeat the process for the back, and then that's my end paper for this. It hasn't been trimmed quite to size yet. I always wait until I've got the inside on and then I'll do it. And then that will be your floating spine. So it opens like that. It's just really good for writing on. I do more sketching, I think, in mine than anything else, but the papers just lie quite flat. One thing you can do is get your bone folder and just run it along just to give yourself a nice bit of definition. Somebody asked me about, don't you pinch the covers together? No, not on this one, because you need that movement. So for this one, it's the opposite way around than my other hardcover ones, because the spine was actually glued to the signatures was actually glued to the spine. So that made more sense. This one, no, you just leave like that. And that's your book. Obviously you repeat for the other end, for the other side. I hope you have found that useful. That's, for me, is how I am doing it. The more you do something, the more you think, oh, what if I try this? Well, I do. And I come up with different ways, and eventually you get to the point where you think, yeah, that works. I can keep doing that. So ladies and gentlemen, give it a go, see how you get on, and find your own variations, things that make it easier for you. This does work, actually. Case binding does work with flat spines. Oh, blimey. This book I was using to dry my spine off with. Point in question, it's a 1930s sewing book, I think. Originally flat spine. It is a lot thinner material. It looks like, I've had a look at it, and it looks like 200 GSM card. I haven't quite dissected it because I'm still using this at the moment, but yeah, and because the spine is so much thinner, that's what I love about these old books. They're all cloth covered. Brilliant. Such inspiration. Right, well, I hope I've given you a few ideas, and I look forward to seeing your finished projects. It is a lot of fun, this is. I am thoroughly enjoying talking to each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Speak to you later. Bye.